What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Posting this video a little later than I usually post videos on this channel because I didn't really want to talk about this during the day because it's the day after a Seahawks game, and I know that there isn't a lot of engagement around this topic right now, and especially on this channel. I know people aren't really going to be thinking about this stuff that much. They want to think about what the Seahawks are doing. They want to think about what's going on over there. So I decided I'd go ahead and just talk about this in the evening. So yeah, got to go ahead and talk about these Huskies a little bit because as of yesterday, this came out yesterday, but of course I wasn't going to make a video about it during game day. The Washington Huskies have gotten their bowl game, and it is a pretty weak one. In fact, very close to, I would argue, the weakest one. Maybe technically it's not, but yeah, this is pretty weak. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. And it cannot help but feel like we're getting shuttered to the side a little bit here. Now, obviously the Huskies this year were not a particularly strong team, so I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. At the same time, though, this is an 8-win Huskies team that has some good players and is capable of being very entertaining. So I don't know if the degree to which we have been kind of shoved to the side here is warranted, but let's just lay it out here real quick. So the Washington Huskies have been sent to the Bucked Up LA Bowl. I'll say it again, the Bucked Up LA Bowl, which I've never heard of Bucked Up before, but I guess they are a real company. I would hope they're a real company if they're sponsoring a bowl game, but the Bucked Up LA Bowl game in SoFi, nice stadium, I guess, to play the Boise State Broncos at 5 p.m. this upcoming Saturday. So, first of all, it's very early in bowl season. This game is going to be played before Christmas. It's going to be played before my birthday. It's going to be played before the Seahawks play the Colts this upcoming week. So, basically, it kind of feels like they're just trying to get a few teams out of the way early, and the Huskies are one of those teams. In fact, there is only one bowl game that is going to take place before the LA Bowl, and it's South Carolina State versus Prairie View A&M earlier that morning. So we are literally the second bowl game in bowl season for this year, and it feels a little disrespectful. And beyond just that piece of it, which is significant, I also think there's an element here where I have to admit I'm a little bit annoyed by this. At least I'm not happy about it. Maybe annoyed is the wrong word. We're not even going to have time for this team to get healthy. That was one thing I was kind of looking forward to because I figured with the bowl game, we would at least get a few weeks off. Maybe Denzel Boston could get back to 100%. Maybe Jonah Coleman could get back to 100%. We have a very beat up offensive line. And I was thinking to myself, okay, cool. Maybe if we play a game in January, maybe if we get our bowl game at least in late December, maybe a little after Christmas, then hey, maybe we're healthy, especially on offense. And the offense is what makes this team go. The offense is what makes this team interesting. But no, we are going to go about as early as you can. In fact, our game, not only is it the second bowl game, but it takes place literally like a couple hours after the end of the Army-Navy game. Literally same day, 5 hours later, we are getting our bowl game. By the way, quick aside, what is up with the Cricket Celebration Bowl being played before the Army-Navy game? The Army-Navy game should be played before any bowl games happen. Like that should be like a hard rule. I don't understand. Just let the Army-Navy game play out and then get to bowl season. I don't know why that's so hard, but anyway, yeah, we are the second team to go, and I guess we're just going to get pushed out of the way early here. Now, look, I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to hope we do good. I'm going to hope we win. I'll talk about the game more later this week. I'm not really going to get into Boise State too much right now, but look, it's it's one of those things where you definitely want to make sure you're not getting too irritated with it, but you don't want to completely brush it off either. Like, for one, there are clearly many, many teams in college football this year who are in a bowl game that are worse than Washington. So I don't know why we're just getting shot out of the tube early like that. And second of all, I know that these are just bowl games and they don't really matter that much because it's not a playoff game. But this stuff matters for recruiting, right? Like, this stuff matters for getting attention on your program. If you win your bowl game, you're going to make yourself look like a better destination for potential draft prospects, right? That's just common sense. I said draft prospects, but you guys know what I mean. Good, well-rated recruits, however you want to slice it. Winning is better than losing. And if we can get this bowl game win, if we can get to 9-4, then that means something. Now, look, we got a pretty good draw in the sense that we have a team in Boise State that we should beat, a team that we should be better than. So that's cool. But you're also not going to get the same amount of positive attention as you would if you were playing a better team in maybe a more appealing slot. We are going to play our game before a decent chunk of college football watchers even realize that there are bowl games happening. So, I don't know. Just feels a little disrespectful. And I'm not saying this Huskies team deserves a lot of respect because they're not that good. I think they deserved a little bit more respect than this. The good news is the Huskies have an excellent recruiting class this year, so as long as we keep Fisk, it's not like we're hurting in that area, and it's not like this is something that I'm looking at and thinking to myself, well, we're in trouble now. No, we have a great recruiting class for 2026, one of the best in the country. And I don't know if a slightly better bowl win would have swung things all that much. But it does kind of occur to me that, every little thing you can get is better. And a later bowl game is also just more compelling and interesting. And I don't know. Us playing Boise State is not surprising. Like, that's been something that's been predicted for a while. If you have a pretty good Washington team and a pretty good Boise State team, those teams are going to match up in a bowl game a lot. But I don't know. I was hoping to do a little bit better. At the very least, I wanted to get a little bit of a later bowl game. And I know that it's not a pure reflection of how good you are. It's not like they go in order from the best teams to the worst teams. But I don't know. It feels a little disrespectful. I guess the good news is that we're the only, really high-level game of the week because South Carolina State versus Prairie View A&M is a very, very low-quality game in terms of the level of the opponent. And then you have Army-Navy, which is obviously an iconic game, but you wouldn't really call it a high-level football game. So I guess we're at the very least the only show in town for the weekend. And there aren't other bowl games until Tuesday. So that's nice, but would have liked to do a little bit better. Post-Christmas bowl game would have been nice, but, it's not a great team, so can't really be too choosy. All right, let me know what you guys think. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too worked up about this, but I got a little annoyed. See you guys later. Bow down. More soon.